Hi, I'm sharing with you some of the gifts I gotten from the Advent calendar from Once Upon a Book Club. This is day 4, this is day 5, and this is day 6. The Advent calendar is basically a countdown to Christmas Day, and Logan had actually wrote a lot of short stories for us to read to count down to Christmas. And like I said before, I had to bunch a few of them together since I didn't get them on the at the beginning of it, but it doesn't matter since it's definitely still a very fun experience. So I'm going to read the story for day 4, which is right here, which is 2 pages only, and then I'm going to open the gifts. Paul never knew what to expect when his daughter Caitlin come home for the holidays. At best, they spoke pleasantries to each other and watched a football game together. Yet the majority of her visits were as though she hadn't even come home at all. The past 2 holiday vacations, she returned home from college and spent most of the visit in her room on the phone with her boyfriend or out with high school classmates she hadn't seen since summertime. Paul was hopeful that this year maybe he'll be able to see her a bit more, like her freshman year break before she had booked all her time out to friends and boys. Raising her on his own, he thought they'll always be close. When she was little, she was a definition daddy's girl and hung on to his every word. Now he was lucky to get her attention long enough for her to pass the salt at dinner. He stood by the baggage carousel, waiting to see her emerge from the escalator, anxiously checking his watch every few minutes. Finally, he saw her dark hair in the crowd on the moving stairs, and he raised his hand and waved. "Hey, Dad," she said as she approached him. They embraced in an awkward one-arm hug, partially due to the duffel bag over Caitlin's shoulder and partially because neither of them was very good at being around the other anymore. They walked to the car in stiff silence, almost far enough apart that a stranger walking may not even think that they were together. The car ride home had minimal conversation, and once the front door to their little house was unlocked, Caitlin disappeared down the hall, phone in hand. Paul knew she wasn't a child anymore, and he couldn't expect her to spend all her time with him, but he had just hoped that maybe they'll be able to talk, even for just a moment like they used to. He sat alone in front of the TV to eat his dinner and went to bed at his typical time, only comforted by the warm glow casting out from under her bedroom door. The clock reached 2:16 when he opened his eyes, and no amount of tossing and turning would suffice to lull him back to sleep. He rose and wandered down the hallway, noticing the light off under Caitlin's door, and moseyed it into the kitchen to make himself a cup of tea, in hopes that it might ease his mind and send him back to his dreamless sleep. As the hot water began to boil, he heard footsteps behind him and turned to see Caitlin standing in the kitchen doorway. "I suppose it's a night for restless," he joked, but when he didn't receive any reaction, he turned back to the stove, waiting for the hot water, which at this rate will probably never boil. "Dad?" He turned and looked at his daughter and saw something he hadn't seen in a long time. A need for her father. "Hey, what's going on?" He turned toward her and immediately pulled her into an embrace, so vastly unlike their brief encounter in the airport. She wrapped her arms tightly around him, and immediately, in his mind, she was back to being 8 years old. "Gabe and I broke up," she choked out between sobs as he rubbed the back of her head and just let her cry. "I'm so sorry to put him before you, Dad." She looked up at him with tear-stained cheeks and smiled, a real smile, one he hadn't seen in years. I'm so sorry I put him before you, Dad. She looked up at him with... Oh, I just read that. I read that by accident again. First you lost Mom, and I'm so sorry, Dad. He immediately pulled back from her and held her arms firmly. Listen to me. Your mother didn't choose to leave, sweetheart. She didn't have a choice. You found your way back, and I would never hold it against you for trying to find yourself. She pulled her back into a hug before she saw that he too was beginning to tear up. I'm just so glad to have you back. They stood like that until the kettle whistled them back to reality, and suddenly tea didn't seem like the right beverage anymore. Coffee was poured into Paul's go-to mug, while Caitlin took her mother's, which hadn't been used in years, a white and enamel mug with the words, "Drink good coffee, read good books," penned across the side in her mother's swoopy handwriting, painted on in one of her artistic phrases. And there's a open your gift little picture of a post-it, and that's when I'm supposed to open my gift. And then I'm going to finish reading this. And this is the gift. See? And I was right. It did mention a mug. So here we go. We got a mug right here with the exact same phrases. Drink good coffee, read good books. And now I have a tin, very lightweight mug. Perfect for drinking anything, hot or cold. So I love getting gifts like this. And I do have a lot of mugs already, but hey, one extra mug is always better, just in case any of them by accident broke, because the other ones I have are glass, and this is tin, so for sure will not break. And let's continue. With warm cups in hand, they sat together until the sun rose, talking like they used to, as though the distance the last 2 years had put between them just melted away, like the stream from their drinks. And for the first time in a long time, Paul knew this holiday had given him so much more than just a Christmas gift. So that's the day for short story, and that was the day for gift. And now I have day 5 right here. And maybe I'll continue in another video since it seemed like it's getting a little long. But I'm going to read day 5 and then open the gift. And then day 6, I'm going to put in a separate video because I don't want the video before too long. So you will get like, oh, I don't want to watch it. So day 5, short story coming right now. There were not many people who visit Brookside Assisted Living to see Rebecca Granham, but she was kept so busy with the many activities and the going-ons of her neighbors that she hardly seemed to notice. At the age of 82, she knew that her children had lives of their own, but sometimes she wishes that they'll stop by more than the obligated twice a year, or in the case of her son, at least call her once in a while. One morning, as she was getting ready for the day, a soft knock on her door startled her out of her regular routine. She slid her feet back in her slippers and padded across the floor before opening the door for a peek. Standing just outside, a young girl stood smiling. "Hello, ma'am. I attended the local high school, and we are spending some time getting to know those in our community. Would I be able to talk to you for a little while?" For being so young, likely no older than 16, the girl was quite well spoken. Rebecca had seen the other students walking around the facility before, but none have ever selected her from the list of residents to visit with. "Oh, of course, that sounds lovely," Rebecca replied before noticing she was still in her nightgown. I just have to finish getting ready. I'll meet you in the parlor in about 15 minutes. The girl smiled a familiar smile and nodded before turning to walk away. As Rebecca shut the door, she realized she didn't get the girl's name, but struggled as she knew where to find her. Rebecca skipped a rather large portion of her routine since she knew she had company waiting. She tried to repress her giddiness at the fact that someone was there solely for her, reminding herself this was something they had to do. The kids never stuck around after their designated time, and then it would be back to the mundane normalcy of Brookside. As she made her way down the stairs, she caught a glimpse of her friends through their open doors chatting with other students. She realized she couldn't help but build up this meeting. It had been 8 months since she had last had a visitor, and she forgot how nice it was to have someone to talk to. I felt bad for the elderlies. I know I should talk to my grandma more, but sometimes we're all like, oh, there's nothing to talk about. But a lot of times that's not true. Elderlies like to hear a lot. Let me continue. When she reached the lobby, she took a sharp left into the parlor, and she found her student sitting on one of the love seats, scrolling through her phone. As Rebecca approached, the young girl looked up and smiled that same familiar smile and slid over to make room for the old woman as she made herself comfortable. Maybe it's a family member, since familiar, maybe one of her kids' grandkids, maybe a grandkid. I don't believe I learned your name, so why don't we start there? Rebecca wasn't sure how these kind of situations usually went, but she didn't want to sit in silence for 3 hours. And I am thirsty, so actually that's why I'm here and why I chose you to speak with today. The confidence of the girl has suddenly been replaced by shyness and a hint of anxiety, which piqued Rebecca's curiosity. My name is Alana Graham, Alana said as she looked up at Rebecca. I've been in the foster system since I was 3, and I never really knew either of my parents. My dad left before I was born, so I never knew him. But I think he was your son, which makes me your granddaughter. I was right, granddaughter. Rebecca experienced a wave of emotions as Alana was speaking, from shock to sadness to gratitude for whatever force had helped this young girl find her. My sweet Alana, my granddaughter. Rebecca choked out as she embraced her granddaughter for the first time, cherishing the love that enveloped them even though they have only just met. Aw, I'm getting teary-eyed. The two spent the next 6 hours talking, learning about each other, and sharing many more hugs and tears. When it was finally time to part, Rebecca asked Alana to walk her back up to her room, and the young girl took the old woman's arms and led her gently back up the stairs. I'm really glad I met you today, Alana smiled again, and in a flash Rebecca knew why it was so familiar. It was her own. Rebecca asked Alana to give her just a moment, disappearing into her room. A few minutes later she returned, holding a square package in her arms. I want to give you this to you before you left, as she pressed the teal package into Alana's hands. I know we are hardly family after only meeting once, but you have no idea what it means to have someone visit me. When I feel alone or misunderstood, this book helped me through it, and I hope it will do the same for you. Alana peeled back the teal snow globe paper and found a worn copy of A Boy Made of Blocks by Keith Stewart. She said nothing for a moment, but then she reached up and hugged her new relative tightly to her. And here is a open your gift little post-it picture, and that means it's time for me to open my gift. And as you read, that was a book title, so this should be a copy of that book she just mentioned. And I love receiving books, so now I have more books to read, and this is the second book that I just got from this advent calendar. A Boy Made of Blocks by Kevin Stewart. Exactly that book. And this is one of those magical books that make you forget that you're reading. Keith Stewart switches on a light in your mind and illuminates thoughts and ideas that seem to have always been there but was previously unseen. This is an author who understands fatherhood and boyhood and everything in between. A truly beautiful book. This quote is by Matthew Dix, an author of Memoirs of an Imaginary Friend. And it has this nice neon yellow color. So it's really cute. And I can't wait to read the books that I got from the advent calendar. This is the second one. And I can always use more books. And let me finish the story quickly. I didn't even tell you how much I love books, she murmured, overcome with appreciation for this woman who knew her so little, yet seemed to know her so well. The two parted ways, but Alana returned every week with a new book for the two of them to discuss. She was never late. She never missed her visits, and the grandmother she had never known, because the grandmother she became the grandmother she had always wanted. Similarly, Rebecca didn't expect anything extraordinary to happen to her when that soft knock came at her apartment door. But Alana told her that the greatest thing happened when we least expected them. And that was such a lovely story, and I definitely get a little teary-eyed from reading it. And that's it for this video. I'm going to open the day 6 gift in the next video instead, because it's just too long. Bye!